Hello, people of the internet. So, I came up with the idea for a series. And the idea was to basically do like little character studies on different fictional characters, or characters from like media, I should say, because that's a better description because those characters could be real to a certain extent. But like, still overall, maybe mostly who they are might not be real. Or they could be entirely not real. Or heck, they could be entirely real if you really want me to, but pick some pick someone interesting if it's someone who is real because oh hey, that's kind of related to the character I was thinking of doing a little study on. So, I was thinking So I was thinking of first video ideas for that. So the first one I thought of before I had the idea of the series, but when I got the first idea for what I consider the first part, was when I was reading the Book of Wisdom. Now, I know what you're thinking. What is that? Well, the Book of Wisdom is an apocryphal text. It's within the Catholic Bible, but not within the Protestant. So it's I'm sorry for dropping my camera. My hair's just in my face. There is it's an apocryphal book in the Bible. So um, the reason I was reading it was because I was looking up. I heard in a video about Hell of a Boss that the Ars Goetia are from a Book of Solomon. Now I looked up Book of Solomon in like the search bar, and and what came up was the Book of Wisdom. And I thought that Book of Solomon was just another word for the Book of Wisdom. So I was like, oh, if I read the Book of Wisdom, it'll be about the Ars Goetia, or it'll at least have them in it. Now, those of you that have read that book will know that I was misunderstanding things. It does not have the Ars Goetia in it. The Ars Goetia are from, I think it was called like The Lesser Key of Solomon, is the book that they're from, which is a different book. I don't know if it counts as apocryphal. I don't know if it's like biblical fiction or if it's apocryphal, but well, I mean, I guess biblical fiction is like redundant from my worldview because I'm a Satanist. So to me, it's all fiction, all religion. Um, I mean, fiction in the sense that I'm not going to live as if it's real, but I might learn from it. I might use it to learn. Um, but yeah. So the Ars Goetia, so no, they weren't in the Book of Wisdom, and I stopped reading like halfway through because it was boring. And it's not boring in the Bible way of like, oh, it's flat and sounds just not interesting. No, it's like boring in the reason that I don't care about Solomon. And I know what you're thinking of, like, well, read some of the other books with him in it. First and Second Kings. I think Samuel has him in it too, but I'm not sure. Or read his Psalms, or read the Song of Songs or Ecclesiastes, you know, or finish reading Wisdom before judging his character. Well, the thing is first of all, I've read the Song of Songs, and I've read Ecclesiastes. Song of Songs is both beautiful and hot. Like, I actually did kind of get turned on when reading it, and that's weird too because I didn't expect to get turned on by a book, yet alone a Bible book. But it also surprised me the amount of foot fetish stuff in that, though. There were two references, but still, that's more than you would expect. Yeah. So then I read Ecclesiastes, right? Because I was like, I heard that it was very pessimistic and dark, and I was thinking, oh my god, that sounds awesome. So and I heard it inspired Shakespeare, and you'd probably be able to guess who I heard this from based off how specific I was with that last part. um I heard about it from Useful Charts, by the way. His videos on the Bible are great. Even though he is Jewish, he still takes everything from a secular point of view. And that's one thing, too, I should point out. If I say I'm taking something from a secular point of view, just know that that's me trying to, even though I'm a Satanist. Even though Satanism is an atheistic religion, it still is a religion. So it's not secular to be Satanist, even though it is atheist to be Satanist. You know? So when I say secular, that means I'm trying to both take it from an atheist perspective, but more so take it from a neutral perspective. In that not only do I not assume God exists, but I also don't assume God is the bad guy, or that Satan is the good guy, or that I should look for reasons to believe one or the other. Um, you know, um, uh, yeah. So King Solomon as a character is fucking annoying from what I've read of him. I've read every book he's written. Well, no, I've read every book he's written except for first and second. But I haven't read Samuel or Kings. I've read the beginning of Samuel, but it was very flat, so I was like done reading it pretty quickly. I will read it if you guys say anything interesting, like if you give me if you like tell me something that's in it that's really cool, I'll go ahead and read it. You just would have to give me a reason. You have to tell me something is in it that I would want to see, you know? Um but the reason Solomon pisses me off is because he's so arrogant. And also both somehow he thinks himself wise but is not wise because of how wise he thinks himself to be. And it's strange. He constantly talks about I'll use wisdom as an example. Keep in mind I only read up to wisdom chapter 7. So maybe chapter 8. I don't remember if it was 7 or 8. But I did not get all the way to 19. I would have if I wasn't bored, but I was like kind of bored and annoyed with Solomon. So Solomon was basically talking about how valuable wisdom is. And you might be like, oh, well, that's fine. I don't see the problem with that. To which I would point out that, well, I wouldn't point this out. I would add to, I would give you the reason that, well, he's not saying wisdom is valuable and using wisdom like to mean what it usually means, the knowledge gained through understanding people and living. He's using wisdom in the sense that he's saying you are wise if you believe in God and worship him. You are unwise if you either believe in him or do not worship and do not worship him or do not believe in him. So basically wisdom is important and wisdom is believing what I believe. In other words, he's an idiot. He also refers to hell as Hades, which is another reason why that book is definitely Greek and not Jewish in origin. And I don't know why that wasn't an immediate giveaway to the Catholic Church. Why did they still put it in? Well, it was probably the Pope was just like, hey, let's put this in. And they're like, well, I don't think it should be in there, but you're the Pope. Um, yeah. So Song of Songs and Ecclesiastes. So I'll get to Ecclesiastes right now because I actually just remembered I talked about Song of Songs earlier. Ecclesiastes is just fucking annoying. The entire book is just Solomon saying, this is vain, and this is vain, and this is vain. It's just him repeating over and over again that things don't matter. I get that he does use some poetic language in between that, but it's so repetitive it gets really boring. You know? Like, just saying everything doesn't matter isn't like an interesting story to read. Uh, so I also heard the story about the whole weird thing with the baby. And that's really dumb. How does he know? Like, I get that the point in the wisdom is like you're supposed to assume he would know which one would give up the baby, and that the one that would give up the baby would be the wrong one. But, like, he doesn't know that. And also, he definitely can't know whether the one who gives it up is the right one, you know? Or, I mean, is the wrong one. And that the one who gets to keep it is the right one. So, like, that's really dumb. And if he did cut him in half, then they would just both have a dead baby. Well, one would have 1.5 dead babies, and the other one would have just the half. I did not like that sentence. God damn you, theology, making me say weird ass shit. Uh, yeah. My main point is just Solomon is an asshole. And one other thing I wanted to point out was just so you guys know, well, two things. I'll First thing is video related. So one thing I noticed, and I'm bringing this up because then it shows you that I'm still doing the video that I've been saying I'm trying to do. So that way you guys know that I am still doing it and didn't forget. So one thing I noticed was that Solomon is very comparable to Alma. Now, when I say comparable, I mean in the elements that I notice. So maybe some elements will be different. And keep in mind that it's without having read Samuel or Kings, or fully read Chronicles, or either of Solomon's Psalms. Although I do plan on reading the Psalms, I'll probably find each individual Psalm's author, as in attributed author, and then I'll read all of them of that author, because I don't think it'll be too difficult to just do that. I know that some of them are anonymous. I'll just read the anonymous ones as if anonymous is a singular author. As if just kind of read them all as if it's like a set written by a specific person, the same way I did the other ones, or would do the other ones when I do this. Yeah. So, yeah. So King Solomon is very comparable to Chief Judge Alma, or Alma the Younger, or the Alma that does shit, I should say. Um, because Alma the Elder does essentially nothing. He's the king right after Mosiah, but then that's it. He's the last king. He's just the step in between Alma the Younger and Mosiah. He could not exist and it would be fine. You could just say Mosiah died and then Alma became chief judge. You don't even need to say Mosiah died and pass it on to Alma the Younger, or I mean Alma the Elder, who then died and passed it on to the Younger. But, Joseph Smith likes to reuse names. But Alma the Younger is very arrogant and very pious to the point of near psychopathy. Not near, to the point of psychopathy. And of course, one thing to note is, as I said before, I haven't read Samuel, Kings, or Chronicles, except for the one part in Chronicles with Satan in it, because I was kind of on a little mini quest to read about all the demons and stuff in religion. That's why, or in Christianity and Judaism. That's why I wanted to read the Book of Wisdom until I realized I was thinking of a different book, and why I did read the Book of Tobit, because it has Osmodeus in it. Yeah. So they both are arrogant, and they also, what the major thing that jumped out to me is that they both think that everyone who thinks differently from them is retarded. Alma believes that if you're not Christian, then you're interpreting scripture wrong and you deserve all of the bad things that happen to you. And he believes if you do believe in God, my God, it's like my glasses are crooked, but like I keep moving them and they still are crooked. I don't know what the hell is happening. Um, yeah. So he like when his people are getting killed and persecuted for being Christian, which doesn't happen often in the book. I mean, like the book will say it happens often, but it really doesn't. The persecution they say they face is just people being a different religion. So that's not persecution. That's just using the religious freedom that they keep pretending they are giving the people. They're saying the people have religious freedom, but they very clearly don't. And one thing I want to point out is that this is very much paralleling the way America is. I do recognize that, which is one of the reasons I really want to adapt the Book of Mormon as like a show or something, because I think that would be really cool. Because then not only could I maybe add in some Jewish stuff to make it actually Jewish instead of just Jewish adjacent. Um, because I was thinking of having King Benjamin before his speech or after his speech sing a Jewish hymn, maybe the call to prayer in the morning before the speech, or maybe just have it be shown that he does that every morning to show that he's dedicated to his God while also being dedicated to his people to wake them for prayer. Um, or maybe have him sing Kol Nidre at Yom Kippur, although I know that's usually in churches, so I would say it's probably better to do Shema Israel or any call to prayer, really, um, well up on his tower, either before the speech or just to do it to show that he does it, and then like have the speech at a different scene to introduce that. Because King Benjamin is a really cool character. Um, and then like I would have things like I hope I said King Benjamin earlier in that sentence. Sorry if I didn't. Like way earlier in that sentence when I was beginning talking about King Benjamin. I think I did, yeah. In case you're wondering, I'm pretty high right now. That's why I spaced out like that, and why I'm gonna be spacing out every once in a while. I would edit these out, but I don't really want to edit, and I feel like if considering you guys care about my theology opinions before, not enough to comment, but enough to leave 6 likes and a pretty good amount of views. Um, you I'm sure you guys would be willing to just deal with this. Plus, I had a few I also have some mental stuff as well that just makes me slower. Um, Not dumber, slower. Those are two different things. Just because you learn slower doesn't mean you can't learn a shit ton. And also, you have the fact that it's autism, so I learn the things I enjoy really well, which is why I'm talking about theology right now, because I learn it pretty fast and I love it a lot, even though it annoys the shit out of me sometimes. Alma, so what was I saying? Okay, so one of the things as well is I could portray Alma accurately. And by accurately, I mean portray what would be going on in his head while doing the things that he does do, while also being a bit biased in the Satanist direction to make him even worse. Um, you know? So basically, what I would do is have the whole Amlesite slaughter show that he is very evil to be doing what he is doing. To maybe go out of my way to show the Amlicites to be more like people who just want religious freedom, because that's how I interpreted it when I read it. Although that's not necessarily said in the text, that's how I think of it. Um, you know, They wanted religious freedom. They felt the church was controlling everything. So they wanted to take that power away from the church, create separation between church and state. The church refused, probably because the high priest, Alma the Younger, doesn't want to lose his power. He would still have a shit ton of power. He would just have less of it. He wouldn't have power directly over the government, just indirectly. Plus, he would be high priest and a prophet. He would be essentially the Pope. He wouldn't need to really. There's not very many things that the Pope can't do that the king can, and such, and stuff like that. So, you know, he then kills the Amlicites and Amlici, and they even include the detail of them running away as he's doing it, as if that makes him better when that very clearly makes him worse. Um yeah. So then another thing that he does that really sucks is there are these poor people who are kicked out of the synagogues because I think it was that they believed in Jesus, but no one else did. They were kicked out for some. Oh, no, wait, no, I remember what it was. So it was in a village where they were so separated from God that they believed God was and will always stay a spirit, and has never become a man nor will become one. In other words, they're Islamic. I know it's probably meant to parallel more so Native American mythologies, considering the use of the word spirit, but to me, that was what jumped out. I immediately was like, oh, so Islam? Um, you know, yeah. So that's what they believe, and these people, I think, believe that he'll become a human. I don't think they believe in Jesus specifically, but that they believe that he won't always be a spirit or something like that. And they get kicked out for believing differently. So then Alma the Younger notices that the poor are there, and he's like, how about I use, how about, you know, um, I just realized I'm kind of giving you more so just the book of, that's fine. I'll finish this thought, and then I just realized I don't really want to. Well, I mean, the thing is actually, because the point of the video is more so to compare and contrast Islam and Mormonism, I think talking about Mormonism here is fine too. Um, because it's more about comparing and contrasting. If I make the entire video me, because if I make it one part me talking about the Quran, one part me talking about the Book of Mormon, and then one part of me comparing and contrasting, then it'll probably be really long. So I'll go ahead and just finish this thought. I'll get out some of it in like other videos, and if I remember what I did say in other videos, I won't repeat it, but I probably won't remember. So yeah, he Alma is chief judge and king over the people, or not king, but chief judge. Well, he might as well be king, but he wouldn't say that. But I would, because that's accurate. So, yeah, so he chases down the Amlicites and kills them. Another thing he does is with Korihor. Now, Korihor is the best. Korihor is basically just me as a person, just in the Book of Mormon. He says that the church is oppressing people and forcing religion on people, in ways that they shouldn't. And he also preaches just atheism in general, that not only God doesn't exist, but also Satan can't, or that Jesus won't ever come. He won't ever come, because how do you know what'll happen in the future? It hasn't happened yet. That's literally the point. Ugh. Yeah. So he then goes to the land of Ammon to preach there. Or the people of Ammon in the land of Jershon. Sorry, I got mixed up. The people of Ammon within the land of Jershon. And they tie him up for daring to speak about his own religion. Then he goes up to the chief judge then he leaves, and then he goes to a different place, preaches there, then gets tied up again and brought before Chief Judge Gideona and Alma, who is just the high priest, as opposed to both the high priest and chief judge. So Korihor brings up these things to Alma, including that Alma is benefiting from his power over the church. He's only using his position to control, not because he actually is a kind person who loves God. Like King Benjamin is kind and loves God, but and while Alma might be the second thing, but he's certainly not the first. He is definitely the second thing, I should say, because he is. So he was like, I don't get paid for this. And it's like, how do you use a fallacy like that? How do you use a fallacious argument within your own book, Joseph? Like, how does he write a book where he makes a fallacious argument? He makes the guy who's supposed to win use a fallacious argument. Like, we weren't saying you get paid for this. We were saying you benefit. That could either mean you get paid or it could mean you just have power, which is what Korihor probably meant, or at least what I would have meant if I said it then. And that's one thing too, is as I said before, this is an interpretation and is as secular as I can get as a Satanist. So, sorry if any of this is bias. If it makes you feel any better, Amalickiah, I hate him. He sucks. Well, I mean, as a character, he's cool, but as a person, he sucks. I consider him morally bad. So I'm trying to be unbiased here. So I'm not gonna just assume that the religious people are bad and the atheists are good. Maybe Korihor was preaching some other bad stuff, but it wasn't said. And maybe he did mean payment specifically, but it wasn't said. Um, you know? But my main point is just that doesn't work. So then he's like, show me a sign, and then I'll believe in God. And then he's like, you dare test God? And it's like, yes, he dare tests the omnipotent entity. Like, saying that is kind of dumb. It's like, he can easily do this with no effort. Why is testing him a bad thing? So then he refuses. And then eventually they do decide on a sign, the sign being to strike him dumb, which means to prevent him from speaking. And then they do that, right? And then he gets kicked out and he has to beg for food and stuff. I don't know how he begs, maybe with sign language, I don't know. Or just hand signals. Until he goes over to the Zoramites and gets killed. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's incredibly sad. Because he wanted a sign and got what he wanted, but the sign was a bad thing because he asked an omnipotent entity to do something that takes no effort. That's horrible. Um why would you um how about this? I'll call this um part part 1 character analysis of King Solomon and Alma, or maybe I'll make a series comparing and contrasting stuff, and I'll call this comparing and contrasting Solomon and Alma. But I don't think that would be good because that would require me to do a deeper analysis of Solomon first. And well, actually, no, I have because Alma's dead by the point I'm at. Um, so, I mean, yeah. So basically, I'll just call this, you know, I'll just call this, character analysis of King Solomon and Alma. And maybe I'll put like in parentheses mostly Alma because it is mostly Alma. But yeah, that's the reason it's mostly Alma is because I'm currently reading the Book of Mormon, and as I'm autistic, things just kind of get stuck in my head. I'm just like, if I'm focused on a thing, that is the only thing I'll think about. So, so yeah, Alma sucks. Alma the younger sucks. Alma the elder does nothing, so he doesn't matter. Um, yeah. Hmm. Oh, that's what I was gonna do. I was gonna explain why I'm in makeup right now. So I'm in makeup right now because my Cebuano teacher wanted me to wear makeup, and because she wanted to see me in my girl form, because as I've said before, I'm a trans woman. I just am too lazy to like maintain the woman look. So I, only do it when I go out. And because I don't go out to make the videos and I don't feel the need to go out to do that, then like I don't usually shave or anything, or put on any makeup. But I went out today and my teacher wanted me to wear makeup, so I put on makeup and she liked it. So one thing is that was so one thing is mm, damn it, what was it? I spaced out. Fucking weed's making me space out. Um, yeah. Yeah, I'm lazy. That's why I don't shave or anything for videos. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If you guys like the way I look in makeup, leave a comment or something saying that so I know to put on makeup. Cause I'll continue to shave and put on makeup um for videos if you guys like it. If you guys don't, then I'll just do it when I feel like it instead of more often deliberately. You know, because if you guys like it, I'll put it on, but if you guys don't like it or don't say you do like it, then I'll just wear makeup whenever I want because, my face, I get to wear whatever whenever. Um all right. So, yeah, I guess I should end the video here, especially since, it's past the time I usually relax and go to bed. Um, so I know this doesn't really make sense if you're watching this at a different time than I'm making it, but good night, I guess. Uh, and if you're wondering why I'm wearing sunglasses, even though it's night, it's just because I like the way that they look. I figured they would look nice with the makeup. Um, so good night, guys.